Hello everybody, welcome to part 2 of our wonderful Scrumping journal. Scrumping, meaning taking what you can and doing with it what you will, essentially. Part 1, which you can find in the description below, will talk to you all about this project and why I'm doing it and what it's all about, but essentially it's birthed due to having found this rather wonderful book in the charity shop recently. Last time we took a load of papers that I had onion dyed and tea dyed, and we made some beautiful, if I can find one here, we made some beautiful ribbon bands to go in some of our pages. And today we're going to carry on. We're going to use a bit more of our book. We're going to use some more of our pages. We are definitely going to use the sewing machine and we're going to use a stapler. But one thing we will most definitely be doing is a heck of a lot of scrumping. I'll see you for playtime. Okay. So what I'm going to be using today, I've got a kind of idea of what I want to do, and then we're going to see how it forms. You'll remember that I'm making 4 books, 1 for me and 3 for you, should you wish to purchase them. And one of the styles of pages, so we've already folded them all, were these big ledger sheets where I've got sort of little fold on one corner and then these 2 big pages, and what we're going to do is we're going to work on this little section here. At its very basic, what is going to happen is that I'm going to sew down each of these sides, and this will make a little tuck for a journaling spot. But I also want to put a little bit of interest here, and I want to start using our William Morris pages that we've got. And I also want to use, as you know, I really tea dyed so much stuff. So I've got all of these papers here, of which I'm going to use some of that today. And 2 more things today. One is I have just finished a diary, because my diaries go from July to July. And in my diaries, at the back of my diaries, is always this wodge of notepaper, and I never use it because I write under the diary dates. I don't use the notepaper at the back. So I have ripped that out because I wanted to scrump it and use it. And I've also got, this is one of my trusted things that I use whenever I'm doing art journaling or junk journaling. This is a very old poetry book. And you can see there I paint in it, so I'm going to rub my paintbrush off on it, but it's full of really sweet poems. If you can find an old poem book, this is brilliant for putting little moments of creative interest in your journals. So we're also going to use that. The other thing that I have scrumped is I had to go to the wholesaler art shop the other day, and they have a section right at the back, my wholesalers, where they clear out any bits and pieces that perhaps they're not going to be using. And these they normally do these enormous books full of multicoloured card, and these are the cuts off the bottom of the books. So these were just lying in a big pile, so we're also going to be using that. I'm mainly going to be using the neutral colours, but I'm going to keep this in my great big envelope here, which has got all of my bits and pieces that I'm using, so that we never ever throw anything away, so we scrump everything. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to start by taking out these papers. Got all sorts of bits and pieces in there, things I'm not going to show you yet because I might use them later on. These are some of the dots left over from what we cut out on part 1. So I've got all of these pages here, and I want to use a few of these of different colours really. So let's take 2 of each. So there's some blues. Let's have some greens. and I want to use these as a sort of bit of backing paper around what I'm going to be sticking in. So I'm going to get some greens. It'll all make sense in the end, I promise. Okay. I'm also going to use these. So I'm going to grab all of those out. Now, the first thing that I want to tell you is that I'm going to make little tiny notebooks that are going to be hidden away. They're like a secret notebook for people to write secrets in, like the secret garden, which funnily enough I'm going to see later today. And what I want is to create a kind of little hook that hooks inside something so that you have to open it up to understand what's in there. Now these pages here that came out of my book are quite substantial, they're quite good cardstock, and these that I've tea dyed on, these are quite thin. So I'm going to use the combination of the two of these to make something that's hardy enough that it can act as an opening and closure. It'll all make sense while I'm doing it. I'm going to stick the camera on, I'm going to make it go a little bit quicker, stick some music on, and essentially just watch what I'm doing. Don't worry about the measurements because, as we all know, it is completely up to you to measure and use this kind of as a template with your own measurements. So I will be using glues. Let's have a look at my basics kit. I'm going to be using some glues today, my Tombow glue, which is my glue of choice. I'm going to be using my cutting machine. I will be using my hole punch because I love it. I'm going to be using a stapler, and I'll come on and tell you why I'm going to be using a stapler. I am going to be using some Distress Oxide and a little pad to rub my Distress Oxide in just to make all the edges look nice. I'll be using my sewing machine. I'm going to be using my creativity, as will you. Let's have fun. we've got to this stage of the process where our little books have got their paper, and I want to now turn this into a little notepad, and there's going to be a few things that we're going to need to do that might sound a bit complicated to start off with. So the first thing that we're going to do is take this to a sewing machine, take this piece of paper out, and I'm going to sew 1, 2, 3, just those 3 sides, just for a bit of decoration. You actually don't need to do this if you don't want to. This is just for decoration. Then I'm going to pop my little notebook in like so, and I'm going to take a bit of this board, enough that will go over the back of my board, and if I just cut that off, because I want it to be just short of the back. Now let's find some scissors. Oop. Okay, so take paper out. You're going to sew round these 3 sides, and I'm going to kind of go round the sides where the image is, round those 3 sides. Then I'm going to put my piece of paper in like so, and I'm going to put my backboard in like so, and tuck it quite up next to the side, and then I'm going to put some stitch down this side here, okay, quite close to that thing. And what will happen then is that we're going to have like a little book that's going to be all sewn in with this weird backboard. It's all going to become strikingly obvious why we're doing that. So we have these beautiful little notebooks, and as you can see, I've sewn around those edges and up the top, and inside we have our papers, and we have this little bit of cardboard on the back, which you will understand why in a minute. I have also gone through my stashes of paper which will make my signatures up, and the larger sheets, the larger ledger sheets, which I folded one flap over, I've just sewn a zigzag stitch at the top and the bottom, so that will become a little flap for some ledger paper that, you know, who knows what I will end up scrumping. And so now I want to do a couple of things. The first thing I want to do involves these again, and involves using some found poetry. And then the final thing to do will be to actually secure these onto here and create a little way of securing them so they doesn't flap open all the time. So I love to use old poetry to create little interesting words in bits and pieces, and the way that I'm going to do that is I've removed some pages from the poem book, and I'm just going to look through and I'm going to try and find sentences or structures, not the whole poem but little bits and pieces that kind of resonate, and then I will just stick them onto here, onto my surface, so that it's just got a few words in it. So I'm going to go through those and do all of these and finish those off. And then the final thing that I'm going to do, that I wanted to show you on here, is that I'm going to take my strip of card, and I've got some neutral kind of creams and things. I'm going to cut a circle using my hole punch, like so. And let's zoom you in so you can see what I'm doing. Bum, 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 bum. So I've got my little circle and I've got my little book here. Now the first thing I'm going to do is fold my circle over so that it's a half circle, and along that crease that becomes like a really easy fold. And if I was to just secure that on there like that, over time that becomes a bit floppy. So the way that we change that is that we put some staples, and this makes it look kind of grungy, right on that edge, like that. Now I'm not going to let that go without just putting a little bit of Distress Oxide around the edge, and I think we'll use black. So I'll put that over there. So it kind of weirdly makes it look a bit leathery, I think, when you tarnish those edges. I'm going to do that. Then you open it up, and you'll notice immediately that it's not so easy to open it up. It becomes a bit trickier. I can get my glue, put some glue just on that bottom bit, not on the top. And then I'm going to secure that onto here, and obviously we'll have a little bit of an overhang because of the staples, but I actually don't mind that at all. And then once that has glued itself down, and you could staple it even if you wanted to, then you just tuck your front pages into the back of that, and you've got this lovely little notebook that we can then secure into our journals. So I'm going to do all that. I'm going to be adding poetry lines. I'm going to add my little hooks for the back. Let's see how we go. Then we're almost finished.
What's your story? What's your sign? It's like we're twin flames in a different life. Deep connection lights a spark. It's like you know me in the depths of my heart. We're dreamers. Don't care what other people say. We live it like this could be our final day. We're dreamers. Don't care what the others say. We're doing this in our own way. We come alive in the nighttime. It's something about how we dance in the moonlight. That look in your eyes, it tells me that you want me and all my loving. We come alive in the nighttime. You and I, we come alive. We come alive. We come alive. What's your weakness? What's your type? Somehow I wanna know all about you. Deep connection lights a spark. Like you already know me when we dance in the dark. We're dreamers. We live it like this could be our final day. We're dreamers.
So, all of these wonderful pages have all been stuck up. These are the pages that have these little notebooks in. And I've one final thing left to do to make these really be able to work easily within the junk journal when people use them. So I'm going to get on and do that, and then we will have finished for today's video. I'm really enjoying putting this junk journal together. And of course, if you want to tag along, but you want to use different elements in your journal, you could do anything you wanted. Do let me know in the comments if you're following along. Do subscribe, because it means that next Tuesday when I put another video out, you will be the first to know. So what I'm going to do, just to make sure that these open with ease, is I'm going to use a 2 ruler method to just make a nice crease along here so that the book kind of opens easily, because at the moment it's, because of where it's sewn and stuck down, it's kind of doing that. So what I'm going to do is, and of course you could do this with a creasing folder, but I'm going to put 1 ruler along the line of my stitching, or just very slightly in front of it, like so. And then I'm going to get another ruler, and that ruler is going to come in and fold that front page back. And then I can just use it almost like a bone folder, just to kind of push against that back edge. And what happens now is we've got that nice little book formation, and that can just tuck in there, and then it's ready to use when people want to use it. So I'm going to get on and go through all of these and get it done. I'll take some pictures at the end, and I'll see you guys next week.